In this session, we are going to explore the 3 pillars of effective sales and marketing. These are the basic building blocks that you need to have in place before you start to build your marketing and sales funnels. Without these things, you are on shaky ground and it's going to be a rough one. But if you have these in place, you're going to have a solid foundation, and I promise you that everything else in your sales and marketing is going to magically become much easier. So with that, let's dive right in. What are the 3 pillars of effective marketing? What do you need to know before you start selling? Well, it's really just 3 things: product, customer, and positioning. Product answers the question, what are you selling? Customer, who are you selling to? And positioning or messaging is how you connect the dots between the two. If you can get these 3 things, then you've got the information you need to build a good campaign and to have an effective sales system, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to dive way deep into each one of these areas. And there are some worksheets that are available. I hope you've got the worksheets right now, because the worksheets will help you with some questions and some prompts so that you can get very clear on who your product is, who your customer is, and how you're going to position your product with your customer. So get those worksheets and have them available so you can kind of walk through those. And I really encourage you to do that legwork. Here's the thing about this. Product customer positioning. It seems so simple and basic. And you may be thinking, I know who my product is, what my product is. I know who my customer is, or maybe your customer is anybody who will buy. And you kind of have an idea of how you're going to sell it. That may be you. But what I found is that most businesses don't take the time to write these things down. They don't draw a line in the sand and say, this is who what our product is. This is who our customers are. They kind of talk about it, and it's kind of a rumor that gets spread around, and no one really is for certain. But with this, if you take the time and the effort, I promise you that your whole sales team, your entire team of your company will be on the same page about what you're selling, who you're selling it to, and the best way to sell it to them. So I really encourage you to do that. Let's take a closer look at our product. Our product, you have basically 4 different areas. Your product. This could be your commodity. And when I say product, I should say, you may say, I don't have a product. I'm a plumber. I sell music lessons. I remodel houses. I provide fitness coaching. I want you to start thinking about your service like a product, as a physical thing. Think of it as a physical thing that could get packaged up, gift wrapped by someone and given to someone, right? That it's an actual physical thing. Start to think in those terms, and I hope that I'll make that a little clearer as we go along here. But start to, if you've got a service, for now, just realize when I say product, I mean you too. And I especially mean you, because you really should be thinking about your service as if it is a product that you're selling. So every product has features, right? If we were selling a toothbrush, that toothbrush has a handle on it and it has bristles at the very basic level. And so you could say, well, those are the features of it. Well, each one of those things likely has sub-features. And as you're thinking about your product, I want you to dig deeper and ask yourself, how does this work, so that you can get to these sub-features? So with the example of the toothbrush, you have bristles on the top of it, right? Are these bristles long or are they short? Are they firm? Are they soft? Are they wide? Those would be sub-features of the head of the toothbrush. And so you want to document those down in the worksheet. The more detailed you can get, I really want you to think of this almost breaking it down to the level of an atom or a molecule. Break your products down that far, and you will have this clarity about what it is that you provide. And so I really encourage you to do that. You want to do the same thing with benefits. Now, benefits answer the question, what does this do for your customer? And the same applies with benefits. You have benefits and then you have kind of hidden or benefits beyond the benefit, right? So for example, again, with the product of a toothbrush, you say, well, what's the benefit of a toothbrush? At its basic level, it cleans your teeth. Okay, well, why is that important? Well, because if I keep my teeth clean, then I won't get cavities when I go to the dentist. Okay, well, why is that important? Well, if I don't have cavities, then I won't have to pay a bunch of money to get them fixed. Also, it hurts. I want to avoid the pain of that. And so start to think of the benefits of your product or of your service, and keep asking, well, why is that important? Dig a couple layers deep. And again, once you do that, the world opens up as far as your understanding of what it is you're selling. It all of a sudden becomes way much more than a toothbrush as far as your customer is concerned. And then the final thing with a product is you need to know how much you're going to sell it for, preferably profitably, right? You also have terms. So is this something that you pay all at once, or is this something that you could do installment payments on? Is it a subscription? How does it work as far as making the purchase goes? So think about those 4 components of a product. There's a whole worksheet on this that you can walk through. It's got some extra prompts on it that will help you to really uncover the truth and get very clear about what your product is. Okay, the next area I want to look at is the customer. This answers the question, who are you selling to? Now, the way that some people answer this is they say, well, I'm willing to sell to anybody who will buy. And I want to encourage you to dig deeper. And in fact, you're going to see that we can dig very deep into this area and create a comprehensive picture of who your customer is. I encourage you, if you've got a CRM that you're using, I know we've got Infusionsoft, and you can track all of these things within most CRMs. And so the main things that you can look at when you're looking at a customer and creating a profile for that customer are the demographics, the psychographics, their desires and pains, the geography or the source, the interest, and the behaviors. I'm going to take a look at each one of those in way more detail because this is important. This is really where the rubber meets the road when it comes to selling. If you know your product, which for most entrepreneurs, most people within a business, they understand their product because they deal with it every day. But your customers, really digging deep with your customers, that's where the real gold is, I think, in this process. So let's take a look at demographics first. Demographics answers the question, who are they? Who are your customers? And you want to be thinking of observable or measurable characteristics. These are things like age, like occupation. Do they have kids? Are they married? Do they have a degree? What kind of degree? Where do they work? What's their job title? These are all things that you can very clearly observe. If you followed them around for a day, you'd see these things very clearly in action, right? You'd know these things. If you're dealing with an organization, the list is slightly different, but you still have a list of things that you can observe about that organization or that business. What type is it? Is it a nonprofit or a for-profit? What industry is it in? How many employees? How much revenue are they generating every year? These are all observable attributes of an organization or a business. So as you're creating a profile and trying to figure out who are you selling to, demographics are key. They're the basic step. With this, it helps your Facebook advertising go much more smoothly and more effectively. And it also allows you to speak directly to those people, those customers, if you know who they are. The next area we're going to take a look at is psychographics. Psychographics answers the question, what's in their head and heart? These are things like their personality, their attitudes about things, their aspirations, what are their hopes and their dreams, their values, what do they value in their life, and everything else that's going on in their head. These things you really, it's trickier to determine these things by observation. Some of them you can, but a much easier way is to ask questions, or you can kind of infer or deduce from their demographics and just your gut feel about people what is going on in their head. So there are 6 areas that you can look at when you're looking at the psychographics, or what's in the head of your customers. The first one is self-perception. This is how they perceive themselves. So do they have high self-esteem, low self-esteem? What do they value? What are their values? They value the environment. They value their career. They value their family. Faith is important to them. These are all questions you want to ask yourself, and maybe even ask them if you can. How do they view themselves, right? What's important to them? The next area is their external perception. So self-perception is their, how they feel about themselves. External is how they view the world outside of them. So do they view the world as a generally happy place? Or do they view it as a dangerous place? Do they view people as generally trying to be nice or having ulterior motives? How they perceive the world has a direct impact on how you interact with them within a sales process. The next area is their drives. This is what is actually causing them to take action. So one is their emotional or internal things. These are things that they may not even really be aware of, that are driving them. Again, these are usually the question behind the question. And then the external is things about the functionality of things. These are more tangible and more conscious. So the tangible answers the question, how do they want it to work? Is a good way to look at this. How do they want your product to work? Well, they may say, I want a plumber to come on the weekends. Well, okay. You could take that at its face value as that's what's motivating them. I want a plumber to come to me on the weekends, or a home remodeler to come and work on my house on the weekends. Kind of begs the question, well, why? Well, because then I could be there. Right? That's that's kind of getting to, well, why is it important for you to be there? Well, because my kids are at home sometimes during the day and I want to make sure they're safe. Well, that's a much deeper drive. That's not on the surface. That's not has really little to do with your product. It's about having their kids be safe. So you can have these drives that are very on the surface, but you can also have them at a deeper level. And so I'd encourage you to dig deeper when you're thinking about the drives or what's motivating your customers. Okay, so the next thing I want to look at with psychographics is the gratification mode. This is how your customer prefers to interact with the rest of the world. And there are 3 main ways. One is interpersonal. They like to interact with other people. They are a people person. So a people person may want to talk a little more on the phone. A people person may actually want to come in and visit your business if you've got a brick and mortar. They want to see your face. They want to know who you are. That's why it's important to know what these gratification modes are, because it can allow you to tweak your selling based on what your customers' preferences are. The next one is introverted. That's another type of gratification mode. So this person enjoys working with ideas in solitude. This is a person that's kind of in their head all the time, right? They're in their own head, kind of dreaming up dreams and thinking of ideas. They prefer to kind of be sitting with a journal in the back corner somewhere of your business and writing down ideas, doodling things, right? And then you've got objective. These people like to deal with inanimate objects and ideas. And so this is the person who's usually a data-driven person. So here's the thing about gratification mode. How do you know this stuff? Well, occupation can be a reliable indicator. If you're more interested in how to do that, hit me up and I'll get you some additional information on how you can figure out, once you know what someone's occupation is, what their preferred gratification mode is. Now, it's not 100% correct, but you'd be surprised at how confident you can be of someone's gratification mode. And you'll see this play out. If you make a guess based on someone's gratification mode and based off of their occupation, you'll be surprised at how accurate you are. So that's gratification mode. Purchase preference is another area of psychographics we want to take a look at. There are 3 different purchase preferences. This is how they make decisions about what they buy. The first is experimental. This group of people loves things that are new and revolutionary and innovative. These are the forward-thinking people that have to be first in line to get the next iPhone or the next iWatch. These are typically your interpersonal buyers, your people person. Your people person is typically a more experimental buyer. Not all the time, but typically. The next is performance buyers. Performance buyers love something reliable, dependable, something of proven quality. These are this is typical of an objective buyer. And then finally, you have your value buyers. These are people who are constantly worried about, is it worth the money? Am I getting the best price? Is this really I want to make sure that I'm really getting value for this. And this is typical of your introverted buyers. So interesting that if you can figure out what someone's occupation is, you can figure out both what their gratification mode is, and then based on that, can figure out what their purchase preference is. Again, is it going to be 100% correct all the time? No. But, again, it's a fairly good indicator. Now, the thing is that all 3 of these things are in play at one time. But there's usually one that dominates. So that's something, a good reason why you would want to capture for every single one of your leads and your new customers at some point, what are their occupations? Because if you can figure that out, you can get at their same level for how they want to interact with the world and for how they want to buy things. So let's take a look at the last one, which is emotional associations. This can be inferred from just history in general, right? Based on their age, where they came from, where they grew up, and also based on their behavior. So if all of your clients are coming in wearing a Guns N' Roses t-shirt, maybe a good idea to kind of look into that brand and see how you can draw some parallels, right? So that's an observable behavior of them. You market to that group of people differently than the people that just came, or seems like majority of your clients are coming and wearing Beyonce t-shirts, right? It's a different group. And so you want to market to those people differently. So you can observe, that's one way to do it. The other is just based on history. We know that people of a certain age, they grew up loving the Beatles. Why is this stuff important? Well, because if you can look at those brands, then you can actually use those brands. And I'm using bands as an example, but there's all kinds of other things, types of cars that people drive, colors that were popular as when people were growing up. They either have a positive or a negative association with those. So here's where you need to be careful with this. It can be positive or it can be negative. I say potato, right? For some people, you wouldn't want to just assume that everybody within a group loves Guns N' Roses, right? So you need to be very careful about this, but you can use it to kind of experiment and draw things for your own sales and marketing. So those are the 6 areas of psychographics. And we're going to move on to the next area, which the next area, desires and pains, has a lot of parallels between drives. But we're going to look at that closer because I think that knowing this and pulling it out to a higher level really helps with sales and marketing. So desires and pains. What do your customers want to gain or avoid by using your products? Either it's eliminating some sort of pain or frustration, or it's providing them some sort of opportunity or hope for something better. You want to write those things down in 2 separate lists. They may not be balanced lists depending on the type of customer that you have, but you want to write down and try to get down as many in both of those columns so that these are the things that you can tie directly into with your sales presentation. Okay, what are their desires? What do they want? What are they trying to avoid? So we put that in the worksheet as its own separate kind of item outside of psychographics, even though there's a lot of parallel between desires and pains and drives. All right, next is geography or source. You want to know where your customers are coming from. Now, this has some parallels to an item within your demographics, which is where are these particular people. But you can think a little more generally here as far as a trading area. So is it within 5 miles of your location or 10 miles of your location? Where are your most likely clients? Do they come from a very specific zip code or a specific street within a zip code? The more specific you can get on where your ideal clients are, the easier it is to target them. You also want to be thinking outside of in real life. You want to be thinking of where are they online? Where are the hot spots? Where do they hang out? Are there certain in real life associations or online associations that they're a part of? All of these things can make your marketing way more effective if you put a little thought into it. Now, I'm going to make a little note. A lot of CRMs, including Infusionsoft, will let you track your lead source, partners, and referrals. And this is a way that over time you can really pinpoint where people are coming from. So I would encourage you to do that if you've got that capability. All right, we're down to the last two here as far as customer goes. These are this last one is interests. And I encourage you to look at what are your customers interested in their life, right, at home or at work, but also very specifically as it relates to your business. One of the best ways to do this is with a click within an email. You can tell that someone's interested in a certain topic if they click on an email related to that topic. You can also ask them questions when they fill out a web form. These are great ways to capture interest. And the more you can do that, this is really where it all comes down to list segmentation. You want to send people stuff that they're interested in. So you need to figure out a way to understand what those interests are, both globally and in the world, but also very specifically as it relates to your business. And the very last thing is in here because I think that it's important, especially for an upsell. If you've got a product that you're upselling someone to, you need to ask yourself, how have my customers engaged with my business over time? What have they purchased before? What kind of web forms have they submitted? What kind of things have they clicked? What kind of things are they downloading? All of these things are behaviors that you can observe within Infusionsoft and you want to be tracking. So these are just to summarize, these are the areas of a customer profile that you want to take a look at. Demographics, psychographics, desires and pains, geography or source, interests, and behaviors. Okay, we're rounding home base here, and we want to take a look at positioning. Positioning answers the questions of how do you connect the dots. And this is really just summarizing everything that we've covered so far and distilling it down to a single message, right? This is all about messaging and branding. It's about what you say and how you say it. And there are some selling tools I want to take a look at. But before I do, I need to point out two things here. One is that emotion in most buying decisions happens first. What people value, what's important to them, their pains, and their hopes and their dreams are what drive the buying decision initially. And what we do as human beings is we back that up with the logic, with the features. We try to give a reason to those emotional drives. Most people aren't aware of those emotional things that are driving them. And so you as a marketer and a salesperson, if you're aware of those things and can back it up with features within your products, back it up with logic, then you're going to be way more effective with sales and marketing. So the other thing is that this is really where sales happens, right? It's positioning. And I like to say sales happens at the intersection of desires and pains and your product benefits. If you can connect those two dots for a potential customer, they're more than likely going to buy. And that's why all of the other things that we've covered up until now about your product and your customer are so important to get clear about. So to summarize all this stuff up, when you get to positioning, what you're going to want to walk away with is a positioning statement, a few sentences or a short paragraph that explains What is it about your product that's unique? Why should your customers buy from you? Take everything you've learned about your product, everything you've learned about your customers, and summarize it. This is a powerful, powerful marketing and sales tool. If your salespeople have that statement right in front of them, they're going to have way more confidence selling your product. So you need that position statement. You need to summarize this, draw a line in the sand, make it a version 1, make it a draft that you can start to use immediately. You can tweak it later on down the road, but they need that positioning statement. They need that paragraph so that they can be strong salespeople and really, really be advocates for your brand and what you're selling. The next thing you want to do is figure out how are you going to qualify people. And so in our worksheet, we've got 2 columns. This product is for people that ... and this product is not for people that ... so that you can start to from that, we'll start to eventually, as we go into this a little deeper in later sessions, you'll be able to come up with questions to start to qualify them. Then the last 2 things I want you to do is think about if you're already selling, right? Or especially if you're already selling, ask all your salespeople, what are the common questions that we get from someone before they're willing and able to buy? What questions do they ask? They probably ask about price. They might ask something very general and generic, like how does it work? You really want to poll your salespeople to figure out what are the questions that people ask. From that, then you can build some answers, right? Again, this is all foundational stuff. If you've got this, then the answers become much clearer, right? Just knowing what the questions are. Then the last thing is, what are their objections? What do people say are their reasons for not buying from you? If you have those tools as a summary of all this work that we've done here, of everything we've covered, if you have a positioning statement, you've got a qualification list, you've got a set of buying questions and a set of buying objections, you've got a foundation to start building sales and marketing tools that actually convert. But it all starts with understanding what your product is, who are you selling to, and then connecting those dots. So I encourage you to do that. If you have any questions, please, please, please ask them. Use the handouts, use the worksheets to build this knowledge within your company. And I guarantee you that you will be set up for success. All right, thanks.